Hello everyone, my name is El Parnaso and in today's video I'm gonna show you the best first Toon combos and profile. So don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and share the channel with your people so we can grow. Also remember that I will still be updating the best Yummy Masterclass just for $20 or already over 5 hours of content that eventually will become 6, 7 and maybe even 8 hours of content with the constant updates. So give it a shot. But tonight what I wanted to show you is how a first approach of the deck building of this future tier 0 deck will be. So let's begin. The idea that I also wanted to show you is how usually you should be having this kind of a template of how to approach a deck whenever they come out or whenever you want to try to play a deck, regardless of it's new or old. This I think is also going to be useful for you. It's just a brief way of how I approach this kind of decks or any new deck that I want to play that you can see deeper and obviously more detail here in the Yummy Masterclass. So here, the first thing is that I always like to see what the deck actually do and kind of how does it. And that is why here I wanted to start with a few ideas of how the deck should combo or how the deck is available to do its shit, right? So let's start here with the Funny Dark Rabbit. What you can do with when you actually just have Funny Dark Rabbit and anything else. So let's see. Well, you obviously normal summon it, and here you are already gaining an advantage because the if after this card is normal or special summon, you can normal summon one monster that mentions Toon World during your main phase this turn, which means that in other cases, if you have another rabbit or another way to get one of the monsters of your engine, you still have a way to play regardless of this card being Ash, Purge, Imperm, whatever, right? Like because that's an effect that you obtain immediately after the summon is successful. So unless this card is getting Sullen Warning, Sullen Judgment, something like that, like you are already obtaining that advantage, which is crazy, right? And here, well, we are using the other effect, the one that we actually care about for the purpose of the video. If you are starting with a rabbit, obviously you are going to put the field spell instead of adding it because you don't want to expose yourself to draw like that, right? So here where the field spell, we're gonna activate it because twice per turn we can search, which is crazy. And here we need to trigger an effect in any way that we can, because we want to banish the Funny Dark Rabbit, but at the same time, in this idea, in this approach that we want to understand the deck that we are trying to build, we need to see how just the Funny Dark Rabbit can put the very same Funny Dark Rabbit in a position to get banished, so you can use the effect again, right? So in this case, it's perfect for the deck that you have a bridge after you search with the field spell that needs to activate its own effect in order to get to the actual card that you want, which in this specific case for the deck is the Mind Scan. And because of that, you have another card activating an effect which allows the Toon World to banish the Funny Dark Rabbit. That is, I think, beautiful card design. I think it's very, very, very nice to see. So because at the same time the deck is kind of getting nerfed in the sense that you need to put more cards that work like bridges, but in some cases can also work like bricks, right? They can be extenders too, but there is the logic that if you draw this card and this card alone, like the Illusionist, you can do actually anything with it. Because the card is not even named Toon in order for the Mindscan to at least let you see your opponent's cards. But in this case, that is not the case, right? We have the Toon cards, and we'll have the Mind Scan here that is already a crazy interaction, right? Now I can not only see your hand and your sets all the time, but I can declare a card and negate it every single turn, which is crazy, right? So Here we are also taking the advantage to banish the funny rabbit, and the funny rabbit can come back. Therefore, the funny rabbit can use its effect again because it's not once per turn. So the only effect that is once per turn from the funny is the extra normal summon that you're obtaining. So here is when the things are like, here is basically the minimum template that you have, because depending of what you're searching with the funny rabbit, here the interruptions are going to be different. I'm not saying necessarily that one is better than the other. I'm just saying that I think it's important to have the idea that one can be an onboard too, depending of the scenario, because you never know what may happen, right? Regardless of the other scenario being the one that leaves you most interactions, and most likely the one that you may always do. So here, the first idea that I wanted to show is adding the comic cat. The comic cat is just one interruption in the sense that you can tribute one of your opponent's monsters during the main phase, but it's also a follow-up in the sense that this tribute that you're making is to special summon a Toon monster from your deck. So, like, it's not that you are not a monster that mentions Toon World. So at least you are getting something in the exchange, right? And that something that you're getting is something that will allow you to keep playing the game, because right now, unless Toonwar stays on the field with the rabbit, you don't have that many ways to keep playing, right? And an interruption that also is a follow-up is always nice to see. Well, just like, I don't know, like Masquerena as an interruption with Flamberge as the body to make Link, so it can be the whole interruption with ESP. Like, that also gives you the follow up of the Snake Eyes in the graveyard being a special summon back thanks to the Flamberge, right? Like, here is kind of basically the same in the sense of the comic card being an interruption that's also giving you the follow up in the way, or in the form of a monster on the field that is special summon from the deck that mentions Toon World. So I think that that extra value is very important for, because sometimes maybe you don't need that many interruptions, or you value more to tribute a monster from your opponent than the other that I'm going to show you here. That will be adding the evil bots. Evil bots can be a special summon when you have Toon World. This card is always Toon World, so you're fine. And when you are special summoning that way, you can add or set a Toon trap card. Now, this card by itself is an interruption too. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target one card in either graveyard, place it on the bottom of the deck. So that's very nice, right? Like, back then against tier laments, this will be tier 0 craziness, right? Just as a disruption quality. Like, in today's format, it's also fine too. It's also a follow-up that will help you a lot. It will help you a lot in the sense that you are getting also your cards back, because you are going to use constantly the Toon words, so therefore you are wasting your whole 3 copies, right? So that is also fine. But at the end of the day, you, as a disruption, what you already want most is the Toon Terror. Like, you are getting the card basically for free whenever you are going for the Evil Bots option. So, it's not that complicated to understand why you most of the time should go for the Evil Bots line when you are starting just with the rabbit, right? But consider the comic card too. Like, you never know at the end of the day. But this is the basic template that we are gonna kind of work with, because here you can have some understanding, some basic understandings from the deck, right? Like, for example, you don't want to really start or draw this card, the Illusionist, because the development of your combo will, regardless of how you started, will get you to this card anyways, right? So, and if you need it as a extender, you actually need a monster in your graveyard, and in order to have a monster in your graveyard, you need to actually play the game, right? So, like, from that basic understanding and just how seeing the line of the cards of this combos, like, you can see that you most likely just want to play one copy of the card, right? So that is not the case for cards like Funny Dark Rabbit or the Field Spell, right? You are going to get not only rewarded by drawing any of these ones, you're going to get rewarded by drawing them in combination, because the additional normal summon will get you to the point that, for example, don't need to think about which one you are going to search, because by having one extra search, you can have both of them, and the mimic cat can and the comic cat can just be your extra normal summon, and that's it, right? You special summon the other one and you have all of them. So, and if you get hand trap or whatever, you can have the other search and just keep doing your shit anyways. So I think that for just from this approach and this understanding alone, you can see that you play 3 copies of these ones, these three: the Field Spell, the Rabbit, and the Comic Cat. I think that even though some of this shit you may think that is obvious, or oh, I already know this shit, technically you know, but these cards are new, so make this train thought, so you can have actually an intrinsic and cognitive development in your own brain regarding the understanding of the cards, will always help you against the ones that didn't took that specific time. This is, I think, more worth than being 10 hours constantly trying to memorize lines or remembering all your spreadsheet. Okay, so because the game is actually is at the end of the day for the purpose of thinking, to enjoy the intellectual pleasure of cognitive development. Okay, so you can make another kind of interpretations just from this and the way that it's played. And I think it's very helpful to have these, these conversations in order for you to apply them for every other deck that you're trying to build. All of these three sounds crazy: the Evil Bots, the Toon Terror, and the Mind Scan, but you should probably just play just one of them, of each, because they are not that crazy good. And now, specifically thanks to this effect of the Evil Bots, I think that you can get away with the idea of just playing one Mind Scan, but it's going to depend on how common is in the format to get vanish interactions like Cosmic Cyclone or SP Little Knight or Chaos Angel that goes against directly for the Mind's kind, and how you usually actually that happens. But that's for the future whenever that actually happens, for a debate of how many copies you should play when it comes to Mindscan. But it's going to be very interesting thanks to this effect, because you can just put it back and search it again, and who gives a shit. But that is when it comes to the combos. With these ideas and these first approaches, I already give you some kind of spoilers, right? Like three of this, just one of this, one of this. Let me see, 3 of the field spells. So here we are. Now, obviously, another cards that we want are cards that can, in any different way, shape, or form, become one of these 3 cards, right? That we actually want, so we can get to what we actually are we looking for, which is everything that we just show and discuss here. So, therefore, it's very easy to make the conclusion that we're playing Toon table of contents, right? We're playing 3 of them. It's not once per turn, and it can kind of search everything we need. Yes, it says Toon card, so it can, from this, only search the field spell. And, Comic Cat and Funny Dark Rabbit, this is very important to understand, are only called Toon whenever they are on the board with Toon Word. So we're still playing 3 copies of this because it's literally every other card. Like, for example, Toon Terror, even, like I already said, the field spell, but can also be Toon Bookmark. Toon Bookmark can search either Toon Word or a card that mentions it. So can search any other of these cards. And because Toon Table of Contents can search the Toon Bookmark, you play 3, and well, because this card is just crazy. Also, a new value added for the Toon Bookmark when it comes to this deck is that the graveyard effect protects the field spell from Ogre. Like, if a Toon words you control you will be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So this is crazy because the field spell is not a searcher like Magical Meltdown, in the sense that whenever you activate the card you are already searching if your opponent allows it. You need to activate the card again. So because of that, you are gaining, yes, the privilege of searching every turn if the field spell stays, and the benefit of using the tries per turn, like with how this specific deck works, right? But at the same time, expose the deck not only already to all the searches like Ash, in the push, blah blah blah, but to cards like Ghost Ogre. So especially Ghost Ogre, which is going to be very popular in this format, obviously, right? So the Toon bookmark protects the Toon world. So basically, they just have the opportunity to use the Ghost Ogre against the Mind Scan, but you will have everything else regardless, right? So you're fine. So incredible card, the bookmark, crazy card. So here, obviously, you can already see that the next card we are going to put is Terraforming, because the deck is very focused on the field spell. Obviously, we are also going for Pot of Prosperity. As you can see in any of the combos, we are actually even using any card from the extra deck. So the Prosperity is crazy for this deck. It's perfect because they are not part of the combos when you are attempting to draw cards too. So there is no kind of conflict within your engine and the Pot of Prosperity in the development and the building of this Toon deck. Here we already have 17 starters. So there is a card that I think is worth discussing. Here is not available to us yet, but it's basically a terraforming with the condition of banishing of banish 3 level light or the level 10 of higher monster from your extra deck, including a light synchro monster, right? So, but after that is just terraforming. Add one field spell. So add one field spell. So in a deck that clearly don't care that much or anything at all when it comes to the extra deck, this card is a very high value card when it comes to consistency. I I am not sure if you want to play more copies here in the main deck. Maybe you can play here one more in the side deck. Because at the end of the day, the field spell is thrice per turn, right? So having more copies is not the end of the world. But it's just that, and you already have the terraforming and 10,000 cards that search the field spell. And these ones, unlike the other ones like table of contents or bookmark, only search the field spell. So worth considering at the end of the day. Here you will have 18 starters, which I think is very nice. I forgot about this one right here. You obviously also will just play two of them. Here you have 18 starters and 4 bricks. That will be the illusionist, the evil bots, and the 2 traps, which I think is still very nice, considering that these two can be actually extenders, and this an actual Embor piece that special summon itself when just by having the Toon World on the field. So, for example, if you draw it with this and this get Ash or push or negated by something, but you still have it on the field, the evil bots still will be 3 interactions just by achieving successfully its own condition to a special summon from the hand. The two banishes from the graveyard, because whenever you use its effect, you can banish it with the Toon World, and whenever it comes back, is once per turn, not once per card's name. Therefore, you can use it again because it just came back from the banish pile. So you have 2 shuffles, and you have the counter from the Toon Terror. 3 good quality interactions, especially the Toon Terror, right? Especially the Toon Terror, most likely the Toon Terror. Depending, it is going to depend on how useful that graveyard interaction is going to be. Not only in the mirror match, but other decks. In the mirror match, it's kind of nice, but so this will leave you a lot of space for non-engine cards. I think that obviously the first one that this is worth a debate. I am not sure how much the deck is actually going to need Cold by the Grave, but as a first approach, I think that is very safe to, just add it, right? Especially when you consider some weaknesses that the deck may have, or things that you kind of prefer not to deal with at all, like directly, to just have the chance of drawing a card that will exchange itself with the other one, right? So here we will just go for the usual. obviously three Ash Blossoms. We will go with, obviously, because of how this format is going to be, three Ghost Ogres. We will go with triple Impermanence too. All kind of hand traps that can work in the mirror match. Like for example, starting with the funny dark rabbit without having anything else, is just exchangeable with the imper, right? Just like when back in Snake Eye times, you still play the impermanence and the bailers because yes, if they have an extender sucks, but Snake Eye Ash is it still a card that impose too many presence by itself, right? So you having hand traps that exchange directly with them and force them to have another one is not bad, especially when you're building a deck that have the chance to draw more hand traps and still having the chance to draw a lot of starters because of having too many. Like in this case, we have 18, right? So here, as you can see, all our monsters are basically all dark. So we are playing also three Dominus Impulse, like we're fine. We are playing obviously two Droll Logbirds. And in this last space, uh, a lot of people may think that you will go here with usually the Fuwas, right? Like from the Mulcharmies. But this is, I think, and obviously, just like you can see in the OCG streams, this is going to be the best deck. So this deck basically don't give a shit about the extra deck at all, and why you should be playing then the Fuwa in the main deck, right? Obviously, maybe, I don't know, this card will be here. I'm not sure still, but what you should do, I think, is to play the three Purules in the main deck instead, because you are caring more about the mirror match, and you are especially summoning a lot from the deck. Like you summon the rabbit. The rabbit is giving you an extra normal summon, which means that if you are going to use that extension, you're getting punished by the Purulia, not by the Fuwa, but the Purule, right? The evil bots, in order to become three interactions, needs to special summon itself from the hand too. So I think that Purulia is going to be a big, is going to be bigger up in the rankings when you compare it directly with the Fuwa in this format. When the Toon deck is going to be basically a tier 0 deck. You can see that has a lot of very good starters that are very good exchangeable between them and that are basically rewarded in every kind of combination between them to get in the development of your plays whenever you go first or second. So if you enjoy it, give a like, subscribe, share the channel with your people so we can grow, and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.